You're listening to Online Pet Health Podcasts with Dr. Megan Kelly. Continuing education for veterinarian rehabilitation therapists. Learn more at onlinepethealth.com.
Hey vet rehabbers! Today Anae Lloyd from Online Pet Health will be talking to Solange Mikail. Solange is a diplomat of the American College of Sports Medicine and Rehabilitation and is a pioneer in the field of equine rehab. They're going to be chatting about angular limb deformities in foals. And this is such an interesting topic because the gold standard for treating these cases is usually surgical correction. But Solange and her team have been researching into a conservative treatment using kinesiotape. Before I hand over to them, I want to remind you all about the wonderful online communities that we have on Facebook. These are free and open to all the vet rehabbers, no matter where you are in the world. They are the Hydro Vet Rehabbers Group, Small Animal Vet Rehabbers Group, Equine Vet Rehabbers Group, and our latest group, which is for those of you that have your own practices and are business owners, Business Vet Rehabbers. So please head over to those groups, and if you're on Facebook, and come and join us. All you need to do is just request to join, and you can come and join wonderful online supportive communities. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Anae and Solange.
Welcome today, Solange.
Yeah, thanks so much for the invitation.
It's really good to have you back online with us and to chat a little bit about foals because, yeah, who doesn't love foals, right? So Solange, tell us a little bit about your research, what you guys are doing, and how the idea started out.
Well, the idea came out with two students of mine that had cases of angular limb deformities. And then I say, let's try to tape the medial side. They were both Carpus Valgus, so the deviation were like that in the carpus. And we decided to tape with the kinesiology tape the medial side. And then the results were impressive. It was so good that we decided to present this, to make a poster and present it at the symposium. And then at the symposium, it caught attention of a lot of persons. We were invited by one person from the University of Wisconsin Madison in the United States, which was Fernando Marques, to come up with a bigger experiment on that. So now we are doing 50 foals. So Fernando Marques from the States is also involved in this research. And the plan is to do a bigger study to prove if this technique works or not. But so far we have around 22 foals ready, and all of them, all the cases we did had amazing results. Not a single one was bad. So we were very excited about this experiment.
Wow, that is very, very exciting, Solange, because let's talk a little bit about angular limb deformities. Are you guys only focusing on Carpus Valgus?
Yes, the Carpus Valgus, it will be this angular limb deformity. Mm-hmm. So when the limb deviates, the carpus goes to the medial side of the line and the distal part of the limb to the outside the line. And it's the surgical correction, which is the gold standard in the literature at the moment. Every article you search about angular limb deformities just tell about the surgical correction, which I think it's effective, but should be left for the cases more severe, or the cases that won't reply for the conservative procedure. So the tape is conservative and very easy to apply. Let's see here how is the surgical correction. You can do two kinds of surgical correction. One to stop the growing of the plate at the side which is growing more,
Yes.
Then you can stop with staples, with cortex screws, or with a singular transfixial screw, or you can stimulate the growing in the other side doing a periosteal transection. So these are the surgical procedures with staples, with cortex screws and cerclage, and here a transfixial screw. And here is the option to increase the growing in the other side.
So, I mean, those are quite invasive surgeries. And if you think about how old these foals are, when are they operating on them? At 1 to 2 to 3 months of age? Surely if we are impacting the growth plates at that age, that's going to have pretty severe long-term impacts on them. So do we know how these surgical procedures are impacting the foals in the long run? Is their growth affected? Are they able to carry on to lead normal lives after a surgical correction?
I think the biggest problem of the surgery is first, it's painful. There is the risk of infection. Of course, it can left some scar in the medial side or change in the color of the hair. But I think the main thing is expensive and painful and risky because it's invasive.
For sure. And these babies are young. I mean, I think that if there's any possibility of successfully treating an angular limb deformity without surgery, that would be the go-to for everyone, right?
Yes, we're talking about foals, about 30 days of age. So, because why 30 days of age? Because usually most of the foals have the spontaneous correction until 30 days. It's not an uncommon pathology. Some of the foals have a mild deviation, but it corrects itself. So, and then I think we should try a conservative procedure, and if it doesn't work, go to the surgical procedure. But with this conservative treatment we are testing, there is so many foals that already escaped from the surgery that we are very excited. Even if it doesn't correct 100%, I think it will become better for the surgery if needed.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so what is the oldest foal that you guys have used in your research so far? If you're starting them at 30 days, has someone submitted a foal that's a little bit older?
Yeah, outside the experiment, we tested already in 3 and 4 months.
Okay.
But outside, when people contact you, oh, I have a foal, but when you see the date, it will not fit to the experiment, because experiment has to have everything as much homogeneous as possible. So for the experiment, we're just choosing between 30 and 60 days.
Okay, so quite a small window. And can you tell us, how are those older foals responding? Because you are still treating them, right? They're just not part of the experiment.
Yes, outside the experiment we did already more than 50.
Okay.
But they respond great, all of them. Because you have until 6 months to correct that, from 30 to from the day they born to 6 months, we have this window to correct.
Okay, so that provides at least that provides enough of an opportunity for intervention for us to work. But for your research, you guys need some more cases, right? And people can submit cases from anywhere in the world. Am I right?
Yes, anywhere in the world. We will try to send the tapes for free. Okay. And then I explain the procedure. Mainly, what we need foals Carpus Valgus on both limbs. Okay. Why both limbs? Because the other limb will be the control to the limb treated. Understand? Because it will be the best control ever, because it will be the same foal with the same conditions. And what we do, we treat one limb for 15 days. Only 2 weeks, we have usually an amazing result. And then we x-ray, and then we treat the other limb. As I said, we have a big window. We have a 6 months window to correct it. Of course, early is better, but most of the owners are very happy with the result.
Yes.
And it's worth it waiting just 2 weeks to do the other one, because it's non-invasive. We send the tape for free, and they understand it's an experiment, and they're happy also to contribute, not only with their foal, but with the whole idea, because if we prove that work, maybe that can be the gold standard.
Yes.
To try the taping first and then the surgery.
Yes. Okay, so that's really exciting. So a call out to everyone out there treating horses and who see foals on a regular basis. If you have a foal with Carpus valgus on both limbs, do they need to contact you, Solange?
Yes, you can contact me by WhatsApp. I can let my contact email and WhatsApp in the end of the presentation. Perfect. And then we have also a person helping us, 2 persons helping us in Europe, which is João Paulo Marques in Portugal and Sue Connolly in England. In the UK. So from there, if there is a foal in Europe, for example, one of them can send the tape.
Okay, perfect. So we'll put all those contact details in the notes so that you'll be able to access them and get hold of Solange and her team. And yeah, be a part of this amazing case study that can hopefully change how we treat angular limb deformities going forward, and work with these foals. So I want to chat now a little bit, Solange, about, kinesiology tape is still a very poorly understood modality for us in horses. And there's actually very little research that proves its efficacy in our equine population. And even less than that can give us an indication of how it's actually working. What are the actual mechanisms of action? So even though we can see it's working, we're kind of guessing at why. So what are your thoughts on why kinesiology taping is working to correct these angular limb deformities?
It's a very good question. Probably it's not because of the force, because the tape is elastic. So the tape itself will not, because it's elastic, will not be able to hold something in the place. So we believe it's more because of a proprioceptive role. You understand? Just a proprioceptive role, because there is a lot of proprioceptors in the joint capsule and in the retinaculum. So we believe we are adding a posture information with the tape. And then because of that, the foal corrects the posture.
So it's just kind of one more thing that highlights for me in my mind the power of the body to heal itself if we just give it the right tools and the right information.
The right information, that's the point.
Okay, that's really exciting. So, maybe this can lead to some other questions being asked on postural correction and how we can influence the posture of the horse through this modality. What else can we do with it? What else can we influence with it? How exactly are you applying the tape to that limb? So it's on the medial aspect. How are you applying it?
Yes, I have here some pictures. I think it's better to illustrate. Here we do a 30% stretch on the tape. We stretch about 30%. Here are our first cases. This 30-day-old filly with she had just in one limb, and we corrected that limb in only 50 days. In only 50 days, she came pretty straight. And then
That is
the
beautiful.
second case was this one. It's a 60-day-old foal, and he came to the university to do the correction, the surgical correction. But he arrived sick at the university, and they started a clinical treatment just to get the foal in order to the surgery. And while that happened, the resident was my student, Luciana. And then Luciana started to tape. And guess what? It was not needed, the surgery.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Sure, that is beautiful. Okay, so that tape is really only applied on the medial side of the calf. It's not going higher, very much higher or lower, and then it's anchor above and below.
It's just a little bit of tape, like it doesn't even spend too much tape. And we usually have to change this tape every 3 or 5 days.
Okay.
Some cases it stays until 5 days. Some cases with 3 days we see it detaching, and then we have to replace it. But during 15 days, the foal has to be with the tape.
Sure. Okay, so they're wearing that tape continuously for a 15-day period, and it's just being replaced as necessary.
Yes. I'll explain more details in our webinar. We have a very complete webinar about that. But we are very excited about the experiment. This was the first pilot cases, and so far we did a lot, and with every case we're very happy.
Yo, that's amazing, Solange. I'm very excited. But I mean, this then brings up the question for me again of, you know, how much of the mechanism of action is proprioceptive, because if it's staying on there continuously, then, you know, our normal expectation is that the body will adapt to it or become acclimatized to that stimulus, and then it would stop having an impact, right? So yeah, I think there are lots of questions still, and obviously we need so much more information on this modality, but it's working, and that's incredible.
Yeah, some questions we're still to answer to, but I think these proprioceptors, it's not, for example, like the receptors in the skin for temperature. For example, if you enter in the swimming pool, you have this feeling that the water is usually cold in the beginning, and 5 minutes later it's not anymore. So there is an adaptation of the receptor. I think these postural receptors, they probably work different because they're postural, work for postural control. So we can influence them in another way. But we think it's because of the posture, not the force. My first idea here is the 3 possible ways to work. My first idea, you see this X-ray where the lines cross.
Yes.
My first idea was to put something to help the forces, when you see where the forces falls here in the medial side.
Yeah.
Oh, let's put a support here to help these forces. But that will be the property of the tape to just aid, to put a support there. But the tape is elastic. Probably it's not this the mechanism. The second possibility is that we are aiding the collateral ligament to hold the things in place. We're putting another structure over this ligament. But the third option, which is the proprioceptors, I think is where the tape works.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. Things like this get me very excited because it's always very good for us to know how to do something and that it works. And sometimes that's all the information that we have. But it is always it's always next level exciting if we know why. And that should always be our end goal, is to know why something is working, why we're doing something. Yeah, that was a big thing for us at college, is to always say, why am I doing this? What am I trying to achieve? Like everything we do to question why. And the reality of our profession is we often don't really have the answer to that question, but we can keep asking it and we can keep moving towards that. And that I find very, very exciting.
Yes, we are very excited too. And I'd like to thank you so much for this opportunity to be here sharing that, because another point is that we're doing this work, this experiment as private vets. So can you believe it, how hard it is? Like, we're not an university with an X-ray, with money for the research. We're doing everything by ourselves. We got the support of VetKing Tape, providing support for the experiment. But that was only that. We're doing everything by ourselves. So it's really important to have some help to find foals, to get the owner involved, to help us with the X-rays. The first X-ray is usually needed because you need to know the cause of the angular limb deformity. For example, if it's due to the ossification, the lack of ossification of the bones, the treatment will be another thing, not the tape. Then I'll explain in the webinar. But if everything is okay with the bones, and it's probably due to the laxity of the ligaments, then the tape can help. And then we can help, we can provide the tape, and all we ask is for a second X-ray. So the owner has also to help us with the second X-ray. And what we do is to send the tape for free. Okay. And cross the fingers to everything work.
Okay, well, that's amazing. And I think, Solange, that brings up a very good point, because a lot of us think that we can't be involved in research because we don't have the university backup, but we can. And we should. Yeah. And we should find ways, any way in which we keep driving in that direction until we can publish something, create something good enough to publish. So really, really, guys, get involved in this. Let's support this, this research, and then let's find the next thing. So well done, Solange, to you and your team for being brave enough to do this, and for holding thumbs that your owners are going to do the X-rays, and you definitely are going to get all 50 of your foals, hopefully very soon.
Yes, we are hoping to.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and I really look forward to your responses. All the contact information to become a part of this, and to submit a case, or to bring a case into the study, we'll put all of that information in here for you in the notes so that you can do that. And thank you, Solange, for your time. And I really look forward to your webinar and learning where else we can apply this, this technique in our patients and in our foals. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Vet rehabbers, For more information on how to take your career to the next level, go to www.onlinepetshealth.com. Please don't forget to subscribe to my podcast so you'll get notified. I'm here every single week talking to vet rehabbers from all over the world, learning, and I would love you to join me. Hope you have an awesome day further. Cheers for now.